Aloha and welcome to Knitted Paradise, where the needles are clicking and the yarn is squishy. My name is Lucia, I'm your hostess, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Pearl of the Pacific. Well, welcome everyone to episode 42. Today is Monday, September 29th, and hello! I guess we always start with announcements, below the conch shell. The September knit along is still going on. We've got a couple days left, so if you have any knitting that's vacation related, put that in the FO thread on Ravelry. And the October swap signups are done, and I will be assigning partners very soon. So if you signed up, please look for your partner. I'll be PMing you on Ravelry. And it's not going to be a secret swap. And I decided that because we want to make new knitting friends through swaps, right? Yes. Just smile and nod. So I've decided that I'm going to pair you up so the person you are sending to will also be the one sending to you, if that makes any sense. So you'll be swapping with each other. So you'll get to talk about things and get to know each other. And I mean, obviously when I send you your PM, I'll send you all of the answers that you answered on the survey will be sent to you that your partner answered on the survey. Anyway, it'll make sense when I PM you. So look for that. And if you still want to sign up, let me know via Ravelry PM because I'll probably be doing those tomorrow. And we'd be happy to have any more. So if you want to sign up, let me know ASAP and I'll put you in the list. All right. On the island, I have a bit of things. I have more exciting things than last week, so that's good, right? I started a new pair of socks, and these are the Salis socks by Julia Reed, and they are out of Dragonfly Fibers. The Ginny sock in hot pants, which I got at Stitches Midwest. And these are the socks. Ta-da! They're very cool. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. And this is how they're coming. I cast them on, I think, last week Wednesday, I want to say, during a conference call. And so I've been steadily knitting on them since then. So they're coming along. And these are going to be for a friend's birthday, whose birthday is this weekend. I don't think these are going to get done, but she doesn't know they're coming. So if I don't get them done, then she won't know, right? So these are coming along quite nicely. And the pattern's really easy to memorize. I really like it. And it's really bright pink. It's kind of coming out there, but ta-da! So those are coming along. And let's see what else. Oh, that's the pattern. I'll move that over. Next we have, I'll take these out of my bucket here. I'm still working on my Tea Leaves cardigan, which is by Melissa LeVar out of Sun Valley Fibers, MCN Worsted and Smoke Signals. And I did not take this with me this weekend, so it hasn't gotten any attention. So I'm still partway through one sleeve. But now that I'm home, and I will probably be working on that because I want it done. I was trying to find a sweater to wear with my outfit this morning, and I was like, oh, I kind of need a gray sweater. I'm like, oh, I need to finish knitting that gray sweater so that I can have a gray sweater. So that's that. Next we have a new cast on, which is Trillion by Martina Behm. And this is out of some unknown sock yarn. I got it from a D-stash, and it's beautiful colors. It feels like a BFL, but I'm not entirely sure. It might be a BFL nylon of some sort, because it feels a little more rustic than a merino. And I've worked with BFL before, and it kind of feels like that. It's not a super tight twist, so I decided not to do socks out of it, but it's knitting up gorgeously in this shawl. So this is what I have of Trillion so far. Ta-da! So, and I'm knitting these on the same really short needles that I did Magrathea out of, because it calls for the same size, and those are the only needles I have in that size. So, that is that, and that is living in my new Fat Squirrel bag. Alright, next we have, that's going to stay upright, Chloe from Spud and Chloe on the Farm by Susan B. Anderson. That's what she looks like. That one, not the sheep is Spud. That's Chloe. And here is what Chloe looks like so far. And she does have legs with shoes. I have not attached them yet. So she's got legs and shoes and a hair tie. I've not done her hair yet. And some knickers. But I think I did these wrong because they really don't come up very high on her. They keep falling off. So I think I'm going to re-knit them. But that's how she's coming so far. And that's out of Spud and Chloe sweater. The yarn Spud and Chloe sweater. In Toast, Splash, and her shoes are Firecracker. And her hair will be Firecracker as well. So that's, I mean, it's the yarn that the pattern calls for in the book. So, if you're wondering about that. Oh, that's where that went. I took this on my trip with me, and when packing up to come home, I just kind of threw things everywhere. I was like, oh, charger needs to go somewhere. In a knitting bag. All right, done. So, that's it, I think, that's on the needles currently at the moment. Set Sail, I finished, let's see, where is the thing I finished? There it is. It is Loopy's Red Sock Kit. It's a little sock. So apparently my camera decided to cut me off because I did a lot of blabbing in the second half of that episode, so I thought I should re-record. That's okay. Things usually go better the second time around anyway. So I was talking about my little red sock that I finished from the Loopy U kit, and it's the Loopy U Solid series is the yarn. I'm not sure of the colorway, but it's just this tiny little sock, which I will add to the garland that goes behind me. I have to add like a little I-cord or something. I might just add a single strand of yarn to attach that. And I think that was the first of the finished objects that I talk about. The second thing that I finished was the mallet cover. I ended up taking it to rehearsal, and so I don't have it to show, but my choir director absolutely loved it, and I knit a second one and that day right before rehearsal, and so I finished it and put it on the mallet. And so she sent me home with the rest and said, I love these, can you make some more? So I need to make some more. They're very simple. I start with a pinhole cast on the bottom, and some of this rubber stuff comes off, and so I just slide that pinhole cast on. First I knit about halfway, so I do some increases until I'm about halfway, slip it on, and then knit the rest of it while it's on the mallet, and then close it up at the top, weave in the ends, tie it, secure it, whatever. So the only problem that I have at the moment is that I have to have the mallet to make the to finish the cover. I can start the cover, but I can't finish it. So I'm still working on a way to make it so that it can be, you know, removable basically. or I can, you know, send them to someone and they can put them on. But she was really excited, and so she sent a bunch of pictures to all of her bell choir friends, and so I will probably be making more of these in the future. So those are kind of finished slash on the horizon. And the other thing, I finished them last week, but I hadn't woven in the ends or blocked them, are my Hermione's Everyday Socks, and these are out of the Loopy U Seasoning series in Gothic Sweetheart. And I just used the stitch pattern. I did do them toe up, 2 at a time, as I normally do. And I did the fish lips kiss heel with a small little gusset there. And I just evenly increased along the bottom of the foot, probably about here, because you can see the stripes kind of get a little wider. It's not meant to be a self-striping yarn, it just did this, which I think is totally awesome. But yeah, you can really see the stripes when they're far away. When you get up close, the texture really shows out. So I'm really happy with how they turned out. They're stretchy, which is good because these are the socks that I've reknit 3 times because they didn't fit the first 2. So those are done and will be sent out this week. So those are things that I finished in terms of knitting. Let's see, where was I? Things that are up next, I think I've kind of already talked about them. I've got some homework that I have to do for the class that I'm taking at Vogue Knitting Live at the end of October. So it's kind of the next big thing on the list. Once that is done, then I can concentrate on some other things. Let's see, Flora and Fauna, I wanted to talk about charts because someone had asked a question about reading charts, things like that. You know, what do you do? Things, anything. Charts are a little confusing. You either kind of love them or hate them. And then once you get over the hating of them, then you learn to love them, is how I see it. I used to be terrified of them because I didn't know how to use them. I'm like, oh, those look complicated. They're really not as complicated as they look, and they actually make your life a lot easier if you know how to read them. And so I'm here to try to explain how to read them a little bit. It's probably not the best explanation you're ever going to hear, so if you have questions, feel free to ask them. But I'm going to do my best. So here's a chart from the socks that I'm working on. It is a free pattern, so I'm not giving away anything that's not readily available on Ravelry. So this is the wee little chart. And with every chart, you will see that there is a list of chart symbols, if this will ever focus. So down below, there it is. So you'll see these are pretty general symbols that are widely used. That's the nice thing about chart symbols, is that you can pick up a chart and pretty much read it because the symbols pretty much stay the same. So blank squares are usually knit. Pearls can either be X's or sometimes they're dots. Yarn overs are O's or zeros. And SSK and knit 2 together always slants in the direction that the decrease slants. So you'll notice when you do an SSK or a slip-slip knit, it kind of leans from your right hand needle toward your left hand needle. And with knit 2 together, it kind of leans the other direction. So the slant leans in the direction that your decrease will face. So that's really helpful. So if you're like, which slant is which? You kind of just think about, okay, well, which way, you know. Anyway, that's my kind of explanation. And the way this chart works is that you'll see that the rows are odd numbered rows. And that's because there are rest rows, or in the round, it's just a plain knit row. Or if you're doing, you know, knit and purl, you know, back and forth, then it'll be a purl back row. You've heard of those. And so those go in between all of the rest, or all in between all the chart rows. So you start with row number 1, and the directions say to work row 1 of the chart 2 times. And what it's meaning is that you start, sorry, here. You always read from right to left. So in the same direction you knit, basically. So here are the socks that I'm working on. And so I would start at this edge of the chart, at this edge of the sock, and work my way across through the chart once, and then you'll see in the middle of the sock I repeat that pattern. So I go back to the beginning of the round, sorry I can't really see what I'm doing, and knit through row 1 twice. And that will give me 2 repeats of the pattern. Ta-da! Sometimes the pattern will say to repeat the whole chart twice. And what they're meaning is to knit through the whole thing this way. So this one says, I mean, at the end it says, you know, repeat rounds 1 through 8 until the foot measures, you know, blah, 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 less than the desired length, you know, for the heel, basically. So I'm going to repeat these rounds from the bottom to the top over and over again until I get to, you know, the heel. And sometimes charts will have a repeated section in the middle. This is what confused me the first time I tried to read charts, is there's a repeated section. In this chart there isn't, because it's just a really small one, but they'll usually have it outlined in red or dark black or something that's very distinctive that you can see. That's the repeated section. So what that means is you knit from the beginning through to the edge of that repeated section. So say, we'll say, you know, that's the edge of the repeated section. Maybe that's the beginning or something like that. And so you knit through from the beginning to that edge, and then you go back to the beginning of where that edge is. So say it's here. So you go back to this square right there, and you knit till you get to here, and then you go back and you knit till you get to here, and then you knit till you get back to here. However many times they tell you to repeat it, or they say, you know, repeat it until you have so many stitches on the needles or whatever, till the stitch marker or something like that. So that's what that square box in the middle of your chart means, is repeat this section. And often, you know, on lace charts they'll have a, like for big lace shawls, they'll have a repeated section. So I don't have anything in front of me that has a lot of lace on it, but that's what that means. I think that's it. I'm trying to remember what I talked about the first time I recorded this. But I think that's generally, computer stop, okay. I think that's generally everything I have to say about charts. If you have any questions, please ask me and I will talk about them more. They're kind of confusing at first. Oh, I remember the other thing I was going to talk about. The reason that I really enjoy charts is it's an easy, I think it makes my knitting easier because I can, what's on the chart should be what's on your knitting, obviously. But it helps, if you can read your knitting, it helps you read the chart. Or if you can read your chart, it helps you read your knitting. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that each square should, each square is a column of your knitting. It's a column of those V's that go up or V's that go down, however you're reading it. Anyway, like for instance, this yarn over right here should be above a knit stitch. Or this yarn over should be 2 rows above this knit 2 together. And so you look at your knitting and you're saying, okay, you know, I've got this yarn over here. Is it, you know, 2 rows above a knit 2 together? You can look in your knitting and say, does this match what is in the chart? You know, with more complicated stitch patterns, you'll have, you know, yarn overs right above a knit 2 together or something. You know, things will be closer together. Anyway, you can look at your knitting and say, okay, well, I'm supposed to be doing, you know, a yarn over here, and it's supposed to be above a knit 2 together. Is it above a knit 2 together? And so it's a really easy way to see if you're on track, because you can look at your knitting and say, Thank you. My husband just brought me some apple cider. It's an easy way to see if you're on track. So that's why I really like charts, because I have an easy time reading my knitting, just because I've been doing it for a little while, and it's just a matter of practice. It's not, I don't think it's hard. You just have to, look at your knitting a lot and pay attention to exactly what you're doing. So that's my semi-tutorial about charts. I'm going to have a sip of my apple cider and talk about the apple cider century that I went on this weekend. So we're going to move into From My Holly. And this weekend, as you probably have known because I've been talking about it for a little while, I went to Michigan and participated in the apple cider century. And I actually wrote a century. A metric century, but a century. For the entire summer, we've been talking about doing 50 miles, which is half a total century. And so I've been kind of training up for that. And on Friday night, as we're driving over to my friend's house, he texts me and says, "Why don't we do 62 miles? And I was like, okay, why not? Let's do 62 miles. What's 12 more miles, right? It was long. It was totally worth it. I'm really glad I did it. I'm actually feeling pretty good today, considering I biked 62 miles yesterday. And I'm a little tight and a little tired, but all in all, I'm doing pretty well. So I'm pretty impressed with myself. We did it in just under 5 hours. I think it was like 4 hours and 45 minutes or something. So it was a pretty good pace. I think our average was like 13 miles an hour, which isn't bad. There were a lot of hills, which I was not really prepared for. Around here, it's pretty flat. The only time I would get hills on my training rides is if I went like pretty far up north, and they've got a few hills. So next year, I will be a little more prepared for those hills. The major problem I ran into in the middle was my rear derailleur stopped shifting correctly. In the lower gears, it would jump around a lot, which is a problem because the lower gears are the ones that you want to go up hills. They make things easier. So I had some issues with my derailleur, and it was maybe like halfway through the ride I started having problems, and I thought, I'll just fix it at the next rest stop. So we got to the next and last rest stop, actually, and I went to go look at my derailleur because I thought I knew what was going on, and it turns out there was a twig stuck in it. Just a little stick. It wasn't like a whole twig. It was just a little stick stuck in it. And it was covered in grease, so it'd probably been in there for a while. And I'm like, no wonder I couldn't shift up to the lower gears for the last 14 miles. I had a twig stuck in there. So I pulled it out, and it pretty much solved the problem. It still had some issues, but not nearly as bad. So that was pretty good. And yeah, it was fun. It was through the backcountry roads in the middle of nowhere. It was mostly farmland. There were like no cars. I don't think they shut the roads at all, but I could probably count the amount of cars, maybe like 10 or 20 that I saw the entire time, which was really nice. Minus the highways that we passed, because we did pass a few of those, but we weren't on them, obviously. We discovered that there were two kinds of crops that we went through. There was corn and not corn. We couldn't figure out what the other one was. And we found out later that it was soybeans. But we still liked corn and not corn, so that's what we're going to stick with. And it was great. They had 3 stops along the way for the 62 miles. If you did longer rides, you had more stops. I'm not sure about the shorter rides. But they had snacks and bathrooms and water and all sorts of goodies, and as much apple cider as you wanted. Took advantage of that. Our stays at the stops got longer as we went through the ride. You could tell that we were a little tired by the third one. The first one we just kind of made a quick stop for a bathroom and snacks, and the second one was a little longer. We sat and stretched for a little bit, and by the third one we pretty much took a nap under a tree. A short nap, but you know, it was a nap. We looked at the pretty clouds and had fun. Oh, I did pass a knitting shop. My friend totally saw it and I totally missed it. And he's like, it's like, Lucia, there's a knitting shop there in the middle of nowhere. There's a sign that says knitting in the, what I'm assuming is supposed to be round. I posted it on Instagram. I was like, hold on, I gotta stop and take a picture of this. It was so funny. It was closed. I probably wouldn't have gone in it anyway because I wanted to finish my 62 miles. This was in the very beginning of the ride, so I was still feeling pretty fresh. And but I just thought that was hilarious. I passed like a knitting shop in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it was someone's house or a barn or something. I don't know what it was. I probably would have gone and checked it out, but it was closed, so we didn't go in. But I did take a picture of the sign because I thought it was hilarious. So that was my weekend. That was the ride. And today I started my new job, which I'm really enjoying so far. I had a great day. We had a cookie party at lunch. My boss went and got me, or everyone really, some gluten and dairy-free cookies, which was fantastic. And I ate a lot of cookies, and I did not feel bad at all because I had biked 62 miles the day before and burned a lot of calories. So I'm like, I'm going to eat all the cookies and I don't care. And it was delicious. And so that's fun. I did take advantage of the standing desks that they have in that office. I tried sitting for a little while and then I was just getting really stiff, and so I thought, there's a standing desk over there, why don't I use it? So that was really nice to just kind of stand and stretch and do work at the same time. So I enjoyed that. And then after work I stayed and watched some D&D because my husband has joined a group of the guys at work, and they've just started D&D version, or what is it, edition 5, the new one that just came out, and they've just started a group. I just stayed and watched. I didn't want to impose on their guy time, so I just sat and knitted and watched, and that was really fun. And that's enjoyable. I think next week one of the guys is going to be missing, and so I'm just going to sit in and roll his dice, and he's going to be on Skype and actually playing his character. I'm just going to be the dice roller. So that'll be fun, and then after that I'll let the guys have their time, and I'll come home and probably knit and do stuff around the house. So that's fun. I think that's it. Oh, one more thing. Hold on. We have a new member of the family. His name is At the cat. Ta-da! This is At the cat. We named him that because he looks kind of like our cat. Well, not really, but he's a similar size to our cat. And so, he's got 4 limbs and he walks around and oh yeah, he does have the fully articulated. Very cool. So he's been hanging out with us, and my husband just built him last week. Got a full interior. I think the head, yeah, oh, there's some dudes up front there piloting the little kitty. What do you think, Pan, huh? You got your new little friend. Of course, there's some flick fire missiles in the bottom here, which I won't shoot because then we'll never find them again. But it's pretty fun. The head moves around on its own. So you can look around, see what's going on. But I just wanted to show her my little plastic kitty. At the cat. What do you think, Pan? Do you like your new little friend? He's more interested in the pirate ship that's sitting over there. I don't blame him. So that's it. And try to put him down very carefully. There we go. I think that is it for this week, and I will see you next week. Bye!